Welcome back to this week's episode of the Broken Kid Podcast. If you think you're about to see double, well, worry not, because you're not. Now, if there's something that you don't know about this podcast, is that I'm the special producer behind this podcast. Now, you might be wondering, well, aren't you just also the host? No, I'm also the twin brother of the host. That's right, there's two of us. If you thought it couldn't get worse, just wait until you see both of us on screen at the same time. This is a very special podcast episode brought to you by vulnerability, child abuse, child neglect, and most importantly, trauma, unattended trauma. This week's episode to you is brought to you by my brother, my lovely twin brother, Alex, who will be telling you his triumphant story of how he overcame his childhood struggles. Cue the music. Yeah, so thank you for the kind introduction, Gordon. Yes. You know, I wouldn't want to have anybody else introduce me for this episode, for this week's episode of the Broken Kid Podcast. And if there's any episode that we're going to live up to the name of the podcast, it's this one. But once again, I am your host, Alex Silva, and it pains me to talk about this episode and the topics of this episode that we're going to be discussing about. That being said, I think we got to get right into it. How do I get into this, you know? First and foremost, I want to say thank you to my brother. I don't want to say thank you to my mom. I don't want to say thank you to my father. And I also don't want to say thank you to my sister. I definitely don't want to say thank you to any of my relatives because I don't know where they are, because they abandoned me. But if you're wondering what I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be talking about how it doesn't get better. Now you might be wondering, what doesn't get better? Your grades at school, your chances of increasing your height, your chances of getting a bigger penis. And the answer to that is, although all those are true, I'm going to be talking about life. Life doesn't get better. Now if you're wondering what aspect, well, let me just take you back to when I was young. First, I was born to a single mother. Now, it wasn't like this all the time. I did have a father, but unfortunately, he wanted to do something else. He had a third child that he loved. Not just my sister, not just I. He had another child. He had a child named Cocaine. And then he had another child named Meth. And then another child, which was one of his most favorite ones, marijuana. Now you might be wondering, well, am I joking? And the answer to that is absolutely not. Absolutely not. And if you think this is satire, it's not. But yes, you know, not just that, but you know, rather than my dad wanting to spend time throwing the ball with me, he had someone else he wanted to do it with. He had a mistress. So there you go. There's that, you know? Yeah. And now you might be wondering, well, you can still overcome that. No, you can't. No, you can't. Abandonment issues are the paradox that follow you forever. The gift, the trauma. You know, I always say this. People ask me oftentimes, do you celebrate Christmas? And I say, no, I don't celebrate Hanukkah either. And I'm not Jewish, so I don't know why I'm saying that. But I do respect every culture, just about. And that being said, you might be thinking, well, he's so awkward today. Yeah, being vulnerable does that. But anyhow, I was thinking about how when people ask me, what you gonna do for Christmas? Normally, I say absolutely nothing. Hide underneath my bed, and I say that my favorite holiday is Halloween. But one of the gifts that I always got for Christmas was the gift of trauma. You know, it was always followed by getting a nice gift, followed by getting by a nice ass whooping. And an ass whooping is a nice surprise because no matter how many times you've received one, you never see it coming. You know, you never know the magnitude of it. You know, there's no wrapping paper big enough to cover an ass whooping. There just isn't. The element of surprise is always there, because this is the face I would make. And yeah, but no, Now you might be wondering, well, you know, maybe your dad left. Well, you know, you could still no, I still can't reconcile with him. You know why? Because he decided to cross over the wrong type of drug dealers, which I guess you should never cross any drug dealer. You know, but if you watch anything from Breaking Bad, you never want to cross any drug dealer, because then you might end up in a barrel of acid. But what he ended up was, he ended up dead in a what is it called? He ended up bludgeoned to death, like the scene from The Godfather. He was hit in the head repeatedly, and then they left him there. And then, you know, that time was really hard on the family. I was 6, and then you know, my mom is a single mother, so now you can imagine the strain. Life still wasn't better. I was pretty inept. I didn't know I didn't know anything about school. And then fast forward to the years of stranger danger. There was a local pedophile. Now, luckily, I escaped untouched. Luckily, but there was several times where this motherfucker, he wanted to scope me out like the Charlie Kirk shooter, you know? And that was traumatizing alone. And now I'm saying, imagine for the people that truly get touched, you know? And yeah, so that was one. And then just so you know, all that stuff happened. Now, if you might be wondering, well, do you have anything good that ever happened to you? Absolutely. Maybe the best thing that could have possibly happened was abortion, and it never happened to me because I wish it did. Oh, yeah, we're getting input from the producers that this needs to be cut. I don't know why. We might be back in 5 minutes. Well, I don't think anybody could have prepped us for how horrible that was gonna go. Yeah. Sorry to the viewers. I guess we have no other option but to bin this whole episode. Yeah. See you next time for this. Yeah. You know what? Just cut the camera.